Welcome to Fueling Your Legacy, hosted by Samuel Knickerbocker. Each week, we expose the faulty foundational mindsets of the past and rebuild a new, stronger foundation essential in creating your legacy. We've got a lot of work to do, so let's get started. Welcome back. I am so excited for today. We're going to be talking about one of the biggest things in my life that I had to learn about myself, and then how I was actually able to go out and share that with others, specifically my wife. I'm going to share some experiences with her. Hopefully she doesn't get too upset. I don't think she will, because she understands me, which is why I married her. But radical self-acceptance. Why is radical self-acceptance so important, and what does it mean? This is going to be the topic of the week, and we're going to talk about a book on Wednesday, the 4 agreements that really helped understand, gives you a good perspective about radical self-acceptance and how to do that in a healthy fashion. But also our guest this week, Stephanie Iliff, is just incredible. Honestly, one of the best to talk about this topic. I'm super, super excited to have her on Friday. Look forward to that episode because it's going to change your life. So what is this radical self-acceptance? How does that actually play into our lives? Now, the title of this video or this podcast is going to be actually relating to addiction, right? And what is the biggest addiction that you can think of? Now, a lot of times when you think about this, you're going to think of the addiction to alcohol, maybe the addiction to sex, pornography, maybe drugs. Water is a pretty big addiction, right? We all need water. I think above all of those things, an addiction that's even more prominent, more controlling, or prominent and more controlling in our lives is actually the addiction to the approval of others. So how are you addicted to the approval of others? And with that addiction, are you actually able to accept yourself, the feelings you have, the times that you don't want to participate in an activity that you feel compelled to participate in because of the approval that you're going to get from others, whether that others is your children, your family, your parents, your spouse, your business partners, the law, the policeman, whatever it is. Why are you acting the way you're acting? They've done tons of studies about this. It's crazy. There's actually a great Netflix special about tricking people into doing things that they wouldn't otherwise do. And they did this theory where they had one participant come in, and every time the bell dinged, then he would stand up and sit down. Stand up when it dinged and sit down when it dinged. Stand up when it dinged, sit down when it dinged. And then they brought somebody else in. And they're filling out this form, and this person's standing up, sitting down, standing up, sitting down. Well, so now 2 people are standing up, sitting down, standing up, sitting down. And then it just kept going. Soon they've got like 8 or 10 people there who are all standing up, sitting down, except for one person. And one person who wasn't, he got exited because he wasn't going to be suggestive enough, right? People have done studies on how can we suggest into people's minds and actually influence them to make decisions based on their radical need to be approved by others and be accepted by others. And that is, in my mind, one of the biggest addictions of all. Steve Siebold says it best in his book, 177 Mental Toughness Secrets. He says this is the biggest addiction, and it's controlling the most people, and it's costing companies and families the most stress, anxiety, and depression because of their radical need to be accepted by others. And so how can we break this? How can we begin to, it looks like my video has ended on Facebook. Sorry for those people on Facebook Live. We're just going to have to listen to this on the podcast and enjoy it there. But why is this so important, and why is this so needed in our lives, and how can we break free from this? Well, it starts with being able to accept ourselves. If we can't accept ourselves, if we don't have radical self-acceptance, then we are going to be basing all of our realities, you could say, on the approval of others. If you're basing it on the approval of others, then you're basically just a zombie walking through life waiting for a command from an outside source. That's basically the host-parasite relationship. Are you the host or are you the parasite? And either one, are they really a good relationship? Or would you rather be independent and be able to control yourself? And so how are you accepting yourself? How are you going to go through the process of accepting yourself? Okay, so for me, I learned through a series of events that I needed to accept myself through love, gratitude, compassion, understanding that my mistakes, my faults, they were not part of me. They were things that I did, right? So a big part of accepting yourself is being willing and able to detach yourself from misgivings, wrongdoings, mistakes, things like that. As long as we identify as those mistakes, then they hurt us. But if we say, okay, well, that was a mistake, but who said it's a mistake? Why do I have to believe that's a mistake rather than a learning opportunity? Why do I have to believe X, Y, or Z about it? Where did I get those beliefs about that situation? And so I've done this a lot in my life for me to become mentally sane and healthy enough to be able to proceed in my life. Now, with my wife, when we first got married, she had been raised with a certain set of beliefs and things. And I'm not saying they're good or bad. That's not what I'm saying. My goal is to say she was raised a certain way with a certain environment, as we all are. She experienced her environment different than any one of her brothers or sisters or parents. Everybody experienced these things differently. Well, when we started getting married, and started hanging out a lot more, and then we were engaged and go through this process, there were times where she was very self-critical of herself, and she would actually say some of this stuff out loud, say that she wasn't good looking, say that she wasn't good at X, Y, or Z, say that whatever happened. And I didn't necessarily help the situation because I was raised with my own experiences. So one thing it's like a go-to for me, but it's just so funny, is she was raised sometimes rinsing the soap off with cold water. For me, that doesn't make any sense because I was raised with hot water, right? So I had to then question my own reasoning for doing that. But in the process of questioning my reasoning, why do I rinse it with hot water? I questioned her reasoning. Why do you rinse your dishes with cold water? Well, she felt like this was a personal attack on her because it was something she was doing. And I'm not attacking her. I'm just questioning the reality. By this point in time, I had learned to question my reality. And so I could say, oh, that's interesting. You do that this way, or you cut bread this way, or you cut your vegetables this way, right? It's not saying one is either good or bad. It's just different. Okay. And being different is not a bad thing always. Okay. It's always not a bad thing to be different. And so I would ask these things and she would feel like, oh man, I'm doing it wrong. I suck. I'm not very good at this. You should just do it because I'm not very good. And I was maybe a little bit less wise back then, but I would then parrot back to her what she was saying about herself. Because the one thing I learned more than anything through my years of therapy and counseling and growth and personal development reading things is how we talk to ourselves, how we verbally are willing to talk to ourselves is way worse than we would allow somebody else to talk to ourselves. The worst form of abuse is the abuse that we give ourselves. We can handle a lot of outward abuse, but the abuse that we give ourselves is absolutely vile. It's way worse than anything that anybody else would ever even dream of saying to our face. The things that we say to ourselves is way worse than that, right? And so my object in this object lesson that I'm sharing with you and that I did with my wife was to help her speak more kindly to herself. Okay, that was my goal and objective. And so she would say these things that were not super positive about herself. And rather than saying, oh, no, you're not like that, and try and comfort her, I would parrot it right back to her. She said, man, I suck. I would say, yeah, you really do suck, right? And the reason I would say that is because she doesn't like me saying that, okay? She's like, no, I don't, right? She would start to defend herself. Her ego would kick in and be like, no, I don't suck. I'm actually better. I'm like, exactly, right? I believe you're better. This is how I actually believe about you. But if you keep saying that about yourself, you're going to keep feeling this pain. You're going to keep living in this reality that you're creating for yourself that you suck. And I don't want that for you. I want you to believe that you're powerful, that you have more infinite potential than anybody else in the world because you are you, that your experiences, they each were handcrafted just so that you could go and bless the lives of others with your experiences, right? That's what I believe about my wife. Because I know what she does for me. I know how much I gain, the knowledge and information I gain from listening to her. So this was a message I tried to convey to her. And eventually over the last 3 years, it's actually gotten really progressive to the point where now she will parrot back stuff to me sometimes when I'm not always speaking the most confidently about myself or to myself, which happens, right? We all go through these times. Although I've gotten a lot better, I'm not perfect. I still struggle sometimes with my self-doubts, my self-talk, my self-belief in what I can accomplish. And because of that, then I need somebody who I love and trust, and I know that they have my best intentions at heart to share with me more positive things. But sometimes that comes through the recognition that, wow, I'm not being very self-accepting. I'm not being very kind to myself. If you can't learn to love yourself, it's much, much, much more difficult. I believe it's impossible, but some people would disagree with me. I believe it's impossible for you to actually love another person more than you love yourself, which means that for you to really love and connect and bless and help somebody else, you must understand and love yourself. You can't, it's like the leader cannot be less than the follower. If the follower reaches a level of growth that exceeds the leader, then he has to go find another leader. He can't be led beyond that which the leader is able to lead. I can't love beyond that which I'm able to love myself. And so we have to be able to love ourselves. Now, that's not some like vain, ego-based thing. It's a radical self-acceptance. I accept me for everything that I am and everything that I'm not. And because I can accept me for everything that I am and everything that I'm not, and I can recognize the things that I'm not and that I'm improving on them, that gives me the ability to actually have compassion for somebody else who is everything that they are and everything that they're not, right? It gives me understanding. But if I'm unwilling to accept that sometimes I don't show up perfectly in life, and if I'm unwilling to accept that I don't love myself, then how can I possibly understand or have compassion or empathy for somebody else in that same situation? And so my message to you today is really think about every time you say something negative to yourself, every time you say something negative to yourself or about somebody else, my advice and my challenge to you is change that to a positive, change it to the exact opposite. So if I happen to think, man, I suck because I showed up late to work today, or I suck because I didn't eat breakfast, or I suck because I didn't get out of the bed and go to the gym. Rather than thinking that, think, wow, I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity and was able to make a choice to go to the gym. And I chose not to. And maybe I don't want that to continue, so I'm going to choose differently tomorrow. But you're giving yourself power and you're changing the conversation. You're accepting that you didn't, and you're not criticizing yourself for not doing it. And so that's really important for people to understand. As we get into the book, The Four Agreements, it's going to get a lot more in depth and a lot more specific about these examples. And then even more so when we talk to Stephanie Eilef on Friday, because she is a powerhouse and she's going to be able to blow your mind about how to do this for yourself, especially women is her primarily who she coaches and works with. And she definitely is focused on the women empowerment for people all over the world. And so tune in for that. It's going to bless your life immensely. Please like, comment, and share this video or the podcast. If you have questions or you just disagree with me, that's fine. Please, let's have the discussion. I love to learn. I'm definitely open to learning, but I definitely have my opinions as well that I think are right now. But it's because out of everything I've learned, this is the conclusion I've come to. I'm definitely open to learning. So please comment, share. If you do happen to love this podcast and share it on social media, take a screenshot, tag me in it. And as you do, I'll give you a shout out on the next podcast. Maddie Mink, actually, on Instagram, her thing is Minky Muscles, I believe, her hashtag, but she actually gave me a shout out a few weeks ago, and I just remembered. So thank you, Maddie. You're the best. Thank you for all that you've done and helped me in my business. I know you're going to listen to this and you're going to be so grateful. No, you're probably going to laugh and be like, Sam, you're a joker. But yeah, anyways, just please listen to this and share. I know this information can bless and benefit many people out there. If not you, you know somebody who can benefit from it. Thanks so much. Thanks for joining us today. If what you heard resonated with you, please like, comment, and share on social media. Tag me so I can give you a shout out on the next episode. And thanks to all those who have left a review. It helps spread the message of what it really takes to build a legacy that lasts. Catch you next time on Fueling Your Legacy.